Hi, everyone. Welcome to another amazing topic of conversation. I want to thank my sponsors, the Health Channel. So please sign up for their newsletter and for anything regarding your health. And if you ever need office space, whether it's a virtual office or a physical space, an hour, a month, anything, Alexa's Workspaces will be able to help you. Today, I want to welcome Vickie Lopez. This is a story of inspiration. This is a story that I wanted to bring you because it's resilience, inspiration, attitude, and we all need to learn from this. So, Vickie, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. It's an honor to be here.
Now, the honor is mine. So, Vickie, tell us, I know moving forward, you're the owner of a successful business. You have learned to live in a different way because it's literally in a different way. So let's go back to before, when the moment that changed your life completely.
Oh, goodness. So the moment that changes my life completely goes back to 2008. And I had just signed out a new car. I had just been released a brand new car. And I had driven myself to the eye doctor because I knew I was struggling. And on that day, they said they would dilate my eyes. They ran a couple of tests and they said, how'd you get here? And I said, I drove here. And the doctor said, okay, well, we're going to dilate and do some more tests. So have someone come and pick up your car. So tactfully, the doctor had calculated that the person who would be coming with another person to, I guess, lessen the blow and tell me that I was already on my way to being legally blind and I should not be driving a car, which is exactly what happened later on that day. And basically, they sat me down and said, listen, you're losing your sight aggressively now. And I had been told many times that I would lose my sight at the age of 11, at the age of 18, at the age of 25. Well, at the age of 34 came around and they said, that's it, you can't drive. But in my world, I could still see. In my mind, I could still see. So I was very angry that day because I could still see and I navigated through my house with the lights off. It really didn't matter. And that's the day that changes everything. And I was depressed. I was honestly depressed for about 4 or 5 days. And after about the fifth day, I was like, I still see. Wait a second. I just don't drive. So, okay, how am I going to navigate now? And that was back in 2008. And I didn't even decide to even go to blind school. I wasn't going to go to the Miami Lighthouse for the Blind. I could still see in my reality. So, in my reality, I was going to push forward. And on that day, I said, okay, well, what can I do next? And I kept working. I was working for General Motors Financial Services. And later on in the year, after about 3 or 4 months later, was the deciding factor when, oh my goodness, I really have lost my sight. What am I going to do? And my husband met someone on a Saturday. He was a blind individual that was at a cafe. And by Monday morning, I went straight to blind school full time. It wasn't recommended. They told me not to do it, that it would be hard to learn, but I was leaving
Why?
a full time job because the learning skills that you would have to learn would be you would have to learn it, then go home and practice it. Learn it, come home, go home and practice it. And they recommended that I only do 2 days a week. And I said, no, no, I'm doing 5. They let me do the 5. I cried on Friday. I did Monday through Friday. I cried on Friday when I was home. I was exhausted. It was learning Braille for 45 minutes. After learning Braille for 45 minutes, you got a 5-minute break. After the 5-minute break, they went on to, I believe, Braille went to technology. for 45 minutes. I had to learn how to use the software. After 45 minutes, you got a 5-minute break to make it to the next classroom, which was home and health, how to cook differently, how to hold a knife, how to hold your fork, how to sit down at a table and be able to cut your food without putting the food in your lap. After that, I got a lunch break, and then I went to another classroom, and that classroom was teaching large visual aids. So you could blow up the newspaper and stuff like that, and it was I recall that I had to make something funny out of something, and I was like, they're giving us the newspaper, why can't we read the horoscope? Why can't we read things we like? Because the other students around us was like, oh my goodness, I have to read this article. And it's like, but why? I wanted to know the why, and I was going to make my learning fun. So I caused ruckus in that classroom. Then after that classroom, I went back to home and kitchen, and they teach you how to use an iron. They Because everything has to be held differently. Everything now is a learning experience, from how you even put your hands inside of the oven. How I and 2 months prior to that, I had
You
uh,
don't realize that
you
you
know,
can't see or you can get burned.
yes, and I had already been previously burned. I was dumping a spaghetti pot of water into the sink, and literally it backflowed onto me, and it had fallen between my waist and down my legs, and it was boiling water. Thank goodness I had a quick response to just drop everything, and literally my sweatpants is what saved me from going into a deeper burn that day, and I got out of the kitchen. So I was excited to go back in. I wanted to be fully independent. And again, think about it, you're doing, but you have to implement. So you're learning and implementing, learning and implementing. And on Friday, when I got home, I was exhausted. The Braille teacher saw that I was bright, and so he pushed me to learn Braille even faster, and I was going faster. And by that Monday, I had already had my moment of the weekend of crying and going, oh my goodness, how am I going to pull this off? I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And I went back for approximately another 14 weeks. I took the mobility training, which first you have to learn how to walk with a white cane inside. Then we took to the streets. Then we took to crossing 8th Street, which is not easy. And then I had to go shopping with my cane. Then I even learned how to get on the Metro-Dade County Transit. I learned the bus system, I learned the train system, and you get to pick and choose what you want to learn. And I was going to learn it all as fast as I possibly could. There was no going back, or I did sit on the couch and mope sometimes, and I did dive into a pint of ice cream, which made me sicker because I'm dairy intolerant, but it was a feel-good moment for me. So I would pick and choose.
Feel
Uh,
good food, the
yes,
comfort food.
I would pick that comfort food, and I would sit down and I would mope. I truly would mope, and I would give myself a time out from anything and everything. And the expectations of everybody was, Vickie, slow down. Vickie, you can do this. Vickie, you don't have to do this. And I guess I just made my own map. I
Yes,
saw,
you wanted to be independent no matter
yes,
what.
it didn't matter what the cost was going to be. I was going to be independent. And in the back of my mind, I was going to go back to school, but I wasn't telling anybody. And when I graduated from the Miami Lighthouse, I did go and I did enroll to go back to school. And that's when I started working on my psychology degree. 2 years later, I got my associates in arts while blind. I went to school blind. First time around in college, I really was bored in college, because I was visually impaired back then. So to read a textbook that had a fine print, I would struggle. But I walked away from college the first time when I was young. And at the age of 35, I went back and I used all the resources available, from audiobooks to large textbooks to a reader scriber, and that's how I got through college.
Wow.
And yeah, then I graduate FIU. Sorry, then I go into FIU. Enroll in FIU, and everything is great. I use a reader scriber, and I just kept moving forward and moving forward. And if I had a hiccup, I would figure out, how do I get past this challenge? I looked at my obstacles while people were saying, Vickie, that's an obstacle, don't do it. I just turned around and I said,
But
how can I make this
why
an
not?
opportunity?
Correct. It's
So,
an obstacle, so you just move, you just find a way.
do I go right? Do I go left? Do I have to go underneath? And I learned to look at things differently.
And I know that you developed a strong ear.
I do. I do have a strong ear for hearing the nonverbals. The nonverbals I can interpretate as, okay, this person doesn't want to talk or something's up. I'll figure it out. Sometimes I will, if we're in a crowded or if I'm in a network, I'll lean over to whoever I'm standing with and be like, okay, why is that person so quiet? Tell me how their shoes are pointing forward. Are they pointing to the side? Are their shoulders up to their ears? And I will start to ask the questions. Losing my sight taught me to ask questions, not to assume something. And then, I evolved with my communication skills later.
What does it have to do with pointing your shoes to the side?
When you point your shoes to the side, that person is more in a relaxed mode. That person, you may think, oh wow, that person, but if they're pointing one shoe to the side, they're relaxed. They have no tension in them. They're not tense. They're more approachable. I may want to go towards that person before I've got somebody who's standing with their toes pointed forward and lock their knees and be like, ooh, that one's going to be a little bit harder to talk to. And I may go for that person who has their shoes pointing to the side because
What
they're
about the
more approachable.
shoulders?
If the shoulders are too high, that person is struggling with something. They're stressed. They're up to their ears, basically. And I already know to come in warmer. I'm going to come in warmer. Hi, how are you doing today? Because that may just be the breaker to get that person to relax and truly tell me how their day is going, instead of coming back and saying, hi, my name is Vickie. No, hi, how are you today? I come in warmer with those persons because it could be that they're just stressed at the situation. They may be like me, that I don't like to be personable out and about, but I understand being an entrepreneur, I don't get to be shy. Not when you're outdoors, not when you're meeting people. In your business, you're not allowed to be shy. At home, I can be shy as much as I want. In business, I'm not allowed. But yet it's my nature.
And you don't come out as a shy person. On the contrary,
It has been years of practice and practice and practice. It's not in my grain to be personable. In my grain, it's let me sit in the corner, analyze the room, what's going on in the room. Okay, I may want to meet one or two people. That's my personality. That's my true personality. Uh, but I'm not allowed. I'm a business owner. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a CEO. I need to know what resources are out there that can facilitate my growth and the growth of others, because I believe that we have something positive to share with everybody.
so wait, but you studied psychology?
I did. I studied psychology, and in the last 2 semesters, I needed to take my research methods, I needed to take my statistics, level 2, and I encountered an obstacle in statistics 2, where my reader scriber could not describe what the symbols were, couldn't read my stats, and I requested help. I didn't receive the help that I was looking for, and I basically walked away. I, in my head, said, I'm going to go back in about a year, 2 years, when my son will be able to take stats, and I'll buddy up with my son. And I walked away. I walked away and I didn't look back. I went straight back into construction, and I started helping Armando with his construction company that I had pushed him to start, but I had walked away when I pushed him to start it. And then he was in the process of building a home and getting 2 more contracts to build 2 more custom homes, and he needed the help. And I made the excuse because I really didn't want to go fight that battle because I didn't have the energy to fight the battle to go get the right reader scriber for statistics, and I didn't want to keep pursuing it. Um, I recall being in a classroom when I looked at my professor and he said I had this look and he said, "What's wrong?" And I said, "I don't want to be a psychiatrist. I don't want to be a psychologist. I don't want to do this." And he's like, "But why?" And I said, I just I don't have tolerance for certain key things. And he goes, "Well, what do you not have tolerance for?" And I said, "I can only imagine that I'm going to have patient after patient come in and they're going to give me an excuse or be victimized by a certain situation and I won't be able to get them out. I don't know how to help that person." And he goes, "It took me 15 years of practice before I realized I should go into teaching and get myself away from patients." And I was like, wow. So, and I walked away. I walked away from my degree and I went straight into
It took me a semester to know that I was not going to go through psychology.
kudos. It took me many more.
I remember my dad was so mad. Like, what do you mean you just decide to change career after just one semester? I go, yeah, this is not what I'm gonna do the rest of my life. So no.
It took me several. It took me several. But in those semesters that I was learning and learning, it gave me a great foundation to go into business because it gave me a great understanding of how to understand people and individuals. And as a CEO, it also it educated me that some people aren't going to see my vision. Some people aren't going to understand the mission. And I have to compromise and say, well, I see it this way. What do you see? And come in and have that dialogue. So it
Like,
taught me a great foundation to be a CEO.
like be more empathetic.
Yes.
It's
It,
not about like I call it this instead of being the square, I call it that you just take off the sides and just
yes.
turn it into a circle.
Yes. So
That's the way I see it. Like, don't be so squared.
yes, I decided I've had my moments in business where I want to be that square. I think we all have it as business owners and we all have it as personal individuals. We want to be able to say, you know what, this is my boundary, this is my line. But then when you go into that dialogue, you begin to learn how to make it a win-win situation. And I go back to being a circle. But I have times where I have stood my ground and said, nope, we're doing it this way because this is the way I envisioned it. And I slowly start trimming my corners because I needed to be good for everyone in the office.
That is also the art of negotiation.
Yes.
But you
But
helped your husband
yes,
with the construction, but then you opened the second company
I
that's
did.
you.
Yes, that is me. So Venus Builders came along later on. Venus Builders came along after I took a hiatus from the business world for about 4 years. I took a hiatus from 2014 to 2018. In 2018, I come back. I am envisioning a woman-owned business with all women employees and pushing forward, getting certified to work with the government. And I encountered a young lady. I thought she was great. She was going to do my drawings because I was going to start with code violations and remediation because I knew how to run those plans. And she collected the deposit and she never came back. 2 weeks in, 3 weeks in, I'm beginning to realize she's not going to pick up my phone calls and she's not coming back with my drawings. And
Was the first lesson.
that was my first lesson. And that was my first lesson that made me realize that you have to pick who you work with and you have to interview better, and they can be any gender. And if you get along with them, good people support good people. Good people will refer good people. And that's how I learned to begin networking. And the next person who came along to do my drawings was an architectural intern that I hired by the name of Tommy. And Tommy stayed with me for several years and then went to architectural school and should be graduating next year with his architectural degree.
Oh, that's
So
amazing.
yeah, he stayed with me for a temporary amount of time of about 2.5 years, and uh, we pushed him forward and pushed him forward. And prior, he did leave to a international construction company, and he was in tears. I was in tears, and I was like, "You have to take this opportunity. Are you kidding me? This is a great opportunity." And he's like, "Yeah, but I'm leaving." And I'm like, "No, you're growing." So yeah,
That's amazing. So
we have
now but it's always been a women-owned business, so it
yeah,
doesn't matter who you work with.
correct. Yes,
It doesn't matter. So now you're in business
yes.
and you have overcome a lot of challenges. Before we leave, is there a message that you want to leave everyone?
Oh, absolutely. We set our own barriers and we set our own limitations, and we set them because of how we are raised. We listen and we allow our mind to have something living, a thought, a negative thought. It's living there rent free. Take a broom and sweep it out and find something, either a positive affirmation. Find something positive that you can in the morning. I still today say, I can, I will, I am a CEO. That's what I say. And make tiny goals at the beginning, baby steps, and then you learn how to run later. But I think everybody should set small goals and strive. Always strive and find people that will positively support you on your growth.
Vickie, thank you. Thank you, because you're an inspiration. You're really an inspiration for everyone. So please, yes, we all can.
Yes,
And
we all can. I can, I will, I am.
we can, definitely, we can do it. So with that, thank you so much. Until next week, and above all, stay safe, and I hope there will be peace in the world soon.